Today we're going to do a tutorial on risk management. Once you get to the login page, place in your account and your password. Once you're into the system, you'll see across the top all of your quality assurance activities. Today we're going to be working on risk management. Once we click on risk management, it brings up the register. This is the front page that has an overview of all the risks. As you can see here, we can add a new risk here or add a new risk here. We can also open an existing risk or delete an existing risk. The owner is the person that has responsibility for the risks and the controls and actions associated with it. The title is a brief description of the risk. Through this side here we have the score, that's the likelihood versus consequences score, which equals a risk rating. You can then decide whether or not the controls and actions are acceptable. So today what we'll do is start by adding a new risk. Go on OK, and it'll come up with the first panel to start entering the details of the risk. Place the person's name in here, that is going to be the person responsible for managing the risk. Here is the description of the risk. So in here we can have that description. Remember, that will be displayed on the front page. Once you've done that, you can go to the Save button here, and this is where you get to add your first consequences, remembering our likelihood versus consequences scale. So if you don't have a consequences identified for the risk, you can just click Finished and carry on. We'll add a consequences. And once we've done that, we click on Save. So we've completed putting in our consequences at this stage, and we now go down to our initial score. This is the score that we would put in to say what is the initial consequences score and what is the initial likelihood. So this is before we put any controls or actions in place. So this, we can select ourselves, the likelihood, and highly likely. So this is before we have any controls and actions in place, and you can see this now calculates that automatically for you. Click on Save, and it will now say, do you want to add a control for that? So we can add a control, click on Add a Control, fire, sprinkler, and alarm system. And what's the effect of that? So it would be very good. Click on Save, and we've now finished putting in the controls for that system. As we come down, we now have what is the current risk score. So we click on the Edit button, and current risk score after the controls are in place. And obviously with the controls in place, it will decrease. This will automatically calculate for us, and we will say what is the current state of the risk is live, and is it acceptable? Yes, it is at that. At what date will we look at reviewing this? And we place that in there and click Save. If you wanted to add a treatment, you could by clicking in there, or you can go to the Finished button. Once you go to the Finished button, that is completed putting in a new risk.